But yeah, so I've been working on for the past several years, but really more intentionally in the past year, building out an online training platform in using a series of lessons to create boot camps along themed material. So basically, contracts is one, working with buyers is another, prospecting, which has a lot to do with KW Command and using, building your database and then using the tools that are provided to you to have a very lean budget and do
Mm-hmm.
the maximum with what you've got. And then the one I'm finally working on is working with sellers. So that boot camp will be ready very momentarily. So basically, I've done this in order to recognize that agents, they don't show up at the same time every day for classes. They don't have the same schedules as each other. And if you have a 1 hour contracts class every month, there's an agent, I guarantee you, that started the next day.
Yeah.
And you can't possibly teach enough contracts classes, for example, in the market center to really give the training that agents need. Because there's the new construction agreement, there's the resale agreement, there's vacant land, there's listing contracts, buyer contracts, there's disclosures that are required. There are forms that you use for inspections, there's forms you use when somebody needs to have a home sale contingency. There's a form where somebody moves in or before or after the sale or stays beyond the sale. So there's about 40 contracts themselves that I go through from a very bird's eye level, high level view, so that I can ease agents into understanding, how to use them, and then go in really getting really nitty gritty in terms of this paragraph means this, and this is how we use it in the context of negotiations. Because even if you go to PAR, they're not going to tell you how to use the agreement. They'll give you the basics, but they're not going to instruct you, oh, what's the common first deposit in Philadelphia? What's the common second deposit or when that's due? So the problem,
like they can watch these at any time.
Correct. So it's basically 24/7 for the agents. So it's on their own time. It's a mix of videos, quizzes, downloads, checklists, things like that. And then I support each boot camp with a weekly webinar workshop. So it's live. So they can ask questions then. And some of the conversations that we have are just phenomenal because they just really get nuanced. The longer you are working with me, like everybody who's signed up, who's engaged, pretty much signs up for all the boot camps. Like they keep coming back because they see the value. There are definitely people who have signed up. I'm like, where are you guys? Are you doing anything with it?
Is this just for Philly Living agents or the whole brokerage?
This is for any agent. So I actually have an agent who works for Berkshire Hathaway in one of my programs, and I have an agent who works for a mom and pop who's in Delaware. So it just depends on the content, whether or not I can accommodate. Like I don't teach contracts for Delaware. So that agent's in the buyer boot camp. So I told her, like, here's the process for working with a buyer. Here's the contract to close process so you understand that. Ask your broker. She happens to be in the Bright MLS ecosystem, so she can still take advantage of the lessons having to do with MLS.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, basically the problem I'm solving for is agent schedule, timing of classes in the brokerage, and the fact that there's no real through line in the education in a brokerage. So you will have classes like that, yes, you'll absolutely need to take, but there's no sequential class system, that really teaches you, okay, what's the next step?
Yep.
And agents I find are very tempted by really cool sounding classes like how to analyze a land deal, or creative financing opportunities. It's like, well, why don't you learn about financing first? Like, learn the basics first.
So what platform do you use?
Yeah, it's a learning management system called Lessonly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it also works like a Google for all of the content in that there's a search bar in a learn section where let's say you were doing a price escalation clause or addendum and you wanted to learn how to use it. You could type in price escalation in the search bar and then it would pull up the lesson about it specifically, and then it would pull up any reference in any other lesson. So for example, there have been several workshops where we've talked about price escalation clauses, maybe in reference to somebody's specific deal or just generally. And then so you could see all the various places that you could actually watch the video, learn about that specific topic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's what you've been up to.
That's what I've been up to, yes.